Hello and welcome to this next class of the quick revision series for Prelims 2024. In this class, we are continuing with defense and security related news, and then we'll go on to places in news. We have about 3 more classes to go after this, and we'll be wrapping it up quickly so that you can have enough time to revise. Also, if you want and if you need the PDF of these lectures, join the Telegram channel. The link is in the description of the video. You would be able to get all the PDFs from there. Starting with the first news, Mahasagar. What exactly is this? This is an initiative of the Indian Navy to reach to other countries in the Indian Ocean region, small little countries and other countries around the world with their navies to collaborate. Basically, the government of India is trying to counter the reach of China. As you know, China has been spending a lot of money under its Belt and Road Initiative, bringing all the other countries together, trying to put them into their debt trap, trying to make sure that China has a control over their territories. So this is our initiative. It is our kind of an approach to try and bring these nations to our corner. That is what Mahasagar is all about. Mahasagar here stands for Maritime Heads for Active Security and Growth for All in the region. So it is an interactive initiative to promote active security and growth in the Indian Ocean region. The first edition was in November 2023. Which are the countries involved here? Remember, the countries involved here are Bangladesh, Comoros, Kenya, Madagascar, Maldives, Mauritius, Mozambique, Seychelles, Sri Lanka and Tanzania. These are the countries that are involved here. Again, the idea is the government of India, under its Sagar doctrine, which is security and growth for all in the region, is trying to counter the spread of China in the Indian Ocean region, trying to bring all the countries closer to us, especially in maritime cooperation, to make sure that we can actually collaborate when it comes to defense and security. This is the logo of Mahasagar and these are the flags of the countries. Do remember this. This was the first ever edition of this Mahasagar meeting that took place in November 2023. Next news, Interpol has completed 100 years and that is why it is relevant. Interpol, as you know, the international police, you read about it whenever someone evades India, someone runs away from India, there are Interpol notices issued, international criminals are caught under Interpol. Interpol came into being in 1923. The official name of Interpol when it first started was not Interpol. The original name used to be International Criminal Police Commission, ICPC. It was renamed to Interpol in 1956. The headquarters are in France, while India joined this in 1949. As the name suggests, this is actually international police to have collaboration, cooperation amongst different countries. If criminal from India has gone to other country, we can collaborate with them so that they can help us out. From India's point of view, the authority that coordinates with Interpol is CBI. So if let's say there is a criminal who has come to India from some other country to hide, Interpol will get in touch with CBI from India and then they will coordinate the efforts. All the decisions of the Interpol are taken by the General Assembly, which meets annually. It is not a part of the UN system, it is an independent international organization. Here are the different Interpol notices that you will see in the news. Do remember these along with the name of their color. Red notice basically is for wanted person. Yellow notice means missing person. Blue notice means additional information is required. Purple notice means modus operandi is required to be told. Black notice means there are unidentified bodies of certain people. Green notice about warning intelligence. Orange is about imminent threat. And then these are the different notices that we have. They work along with UNSC, but again, Interpol is not recognized or does not work under the UN. It's a separate international organization. Now we move on to the places in news. In the remaining part of this class and the next 2 classes, we will be discussing some of those places that have been in the news. So how will we do that? I will show you the location of the places on the map and I'll give you a 1 or 2 liner description of why they were in the news, so that you can have an idea. For example, look at this map. We will discuss these 10 places that were in the news for different reasons and I'll then tell you in the next page why were they in the news. So you can get to see the location also, where do these places exist, and then you can also see the significance. So Cuba In the news because it had a new president, not that important for us. Gaza Strip, yes, in the news because of Israel's offensive. Uzbekistan, in the news because they held a referendum on a new constitution that actually puts a lot of focus on human rights. It's a landlocked country but very, very rich in minerals. So that is why it's still poor as compared to where it should be, because it does not have a lot of export opportunities. It is a part of the SCO. Then the Sitwe port in the news because India and Myanmar are working towards it. India wants to develop this so that it can actually give us an alternate entry into our own northeastern part. As you can see, this is where the Sitwe port is in Myanmar. Then the Coco Islands were also in the news. These are a small group of islands in the Bay of Bengal. They are a part of Myanmar. They are a extended division of the Arakan Mountains or the Rakhine Mountains. Another thing in the news was the Metri Super Thermal Power Plant. It was NTPC, National Thermal Power Corporation's first overseas capacity addition. It is in Bangladesh, do remember. This is the Metri Super Thermal Power Plant in Bangladesh. It is an effort by NTPC. Moving on to the other places on this map, the Gulf of Oman was in the news because of the Iranian Navy's activity. They had seized an oil tanker in the Gulf of Oman. Yanomami was also in the news. The Brazilian government promised to speed up expulsion of illegal gold miners from Yanomami. It is the largest indigenous land in Brazil. This is where it is in Brazil. Do remember the name. It is a place where a lot of indigenous means tribal people live. And just like India, they also have many mines in these areas. A lot of people are illegally trying to extract coal or gold rather. And government of Brazil says we will bring those people out. Then the Chetumal Bay was in the news. The world's second deepest blue hole was discovered. It is in the West Caribbean Sea. Apart from that, volcano called Fuego was in the news in Guatemala. Thousands of people were evacuated from this place. So this is how the questions come in. So places in news questions can either come in when they will ask you about the location, where exactly is this, or they can ask you about a certain thing or certain place in the news and then tell you or ask you about its location. For example, a few years back there was a question that Catalonia, recently seen in the news, is in which country? So Catalonia is in Spain. The reason why it was in the news was within Spain, in the region of Catalonia, people were demanding that you want a separate country altogether. Their demand was that we should be separated, we don't want to be a part of Spain, we contribute most of our taxes, uneven development was the issue. So that kind of question was asked. So when you see places in news, the questions that can be asked is they will tell you the name of the place, volcano or a famous dam or a famous project. They will ask you in which country is it or where, what exactly are the water bodies around it. That's why it's important. So learn it from this context. Kalaeua volcano was also in the news in Hawaii. This is the youngest and the most active shield volcano on the southern part of Hawaii, known as a Big Island. Another important place in the news was the Al Hakim Mosque. It's in Egypt. It is a part of the World or UNESCO World Heritage Site as well. It was visited by the Indian Prime Minister as well. Then Chuka Hydro Project. It's a hydro project in Bhutan where India has revised the tariff of this, meaning that India will be giving more money to Bhutan for this. The Mayon volcano was also in the news. It is in Philippines. It is the world's most perfect volcanic cone. It has the best symmetry of all the volcanoes. Basically kind of like this symmetry, perfect. This is not perfect, but yes, this kind of a symmetry. Again, I can't draw a perfect volcano, but something like this. Fraser Island was in the news in Australia. Australia changed the name of Fraser Island to its traditional name Kagari. Australia, New Zealand, they have a lot of indigenous people who used to live in those lands before the whites came in and tried to conquer that. These indigenous people demand that their culture should be returned back to them. So this Fraser Island has been renamed to its original name now. It is the largest sandy island in the entire world. It's belonged to the Butchulla people. Do remember this name? This can also be asked that Butchulla people in the news belong to which country? They are called as the guardians of the land because they have been living in this area for a long time. Moving on to Anak Krakatau volcano. This is again in Indonesia. Indonesia, as you know, is home to a lot of volcanoes around the world. Diego Garcia Island was in the news in the Indian Ocean. It is a part of British Indian Ocean Territory. It has been in the news because of its coral atoll. Another important place in the news was the Kafue National Park in Zambia. It is the largest national park in Zambia and has seen an increase in population of lion and leopards. Next place in the news is Sydney Island. It's a small island in Antarctica. It is an island where you see interesting types of flora, that is plants. They reproduce via spores rather than seeds. These islands have only two flowering plants called Antarctic hairgrass and Antarctic pearl wort. Apart from this, another country in the news was Belize. This is important. It has been certified by WHO as a malaria-free country. Very small country in Central America. It's along the coast of Central America. In Belize, you will see the barrier reef as well, which is the second largest barrier reef in the world after Australia. Australia is famous for the Great Barrier Reef. The next one is in Belize, right here. Do remember this as well. Then the next map, next place in the news, the island of Maui. It is in Hawaii. It is in the news because of a lot of wildfires that have broken out in Hawaii. It's an extremely beautiful island. A lot of movies are shot there. It is famous for its world famous beaches and the sacred Lau Valley, where a lot of humpback whales are found. Venice, as you know, in Italy, it has been added to the World Heritage Site in Danger list. So a lot of World Heritage Sites are in danger. Venice, it is believed that may go underwater. The water level is increasing and that is why it is a site in danger. Then we have the Murmansk port. It is a part of India's engagement with Russia's Arctic region. India, as you know, has been collaborating with Russia to explore a lot of other possibilities in the Arctic region. India-bound goods from Russia have been handled in large quantities at the Murmansk port specifically. It is one of the largest ice-free ports in Russia. Other places in the news was the East Sea and the Fukushima nuclear park. The Fukushima nuclear plant was affected significantly when Japan had its tsunami. Since then, a lot of dangerous water, heavy water has been stored, and now Japan has been releasing that water into the ocean. About 1.34 million tons of radioactive water has been released into the Pacific Ocean. That is why it was in the news. Some of the other places in the news include the Papua New Guinea because of the US interest in these small islands. These small islands, many of them have been on the target of China for increased collaboration. So US also looking at them very carefully. Gwadar port in the news. It's a port in Pakistan being built by China. It's a deep sea port in the Arabian Sea. Then we also have the Malawi country in the news because parliamentary delegation from Malawi visited India. It's a landlocked country from Africa. Then we have Lake Titicaca in the news because of its low level of waterfalls, historically low due to the climate change issue. It is the largest freshwater lake in South America. It has been a part of UNESCO's World Heritage tentative list since 2005. Then a country in the news called Suriname, small country in northeast coast of South America. It has been in the news because it has signed a contract with Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission. Basically, there is a collaboration for health purposes between the two countries, India and Suriname. This is the next set of countries, next set of places are there in the news. That is the Orkney Island. It is basically an island that is looking to go off from UK and become a self-governing territory of Norway. Very interesting island. It has about only 70 islands altogether. It's actually an archipelago, means a group of islands. Only 20 of them are inhabited, means only on 20 islands some people live. It's already a part of the UNESCO World Heritage Site. Then Vilnius, capital of Lithuania, was in the news because of the venue of the NATO summit. Kakhovka Dam in the news because it collapsed. It's a Soviet era dam. There were allegations that maybe Russia had targeted it. It is in Ukraine. So it remains to be seen whether it was Russia or the dam failed all of it sudden because of itself. Mahasagar crater is in the news. It is the biggest permafrost crater in the entire world, means a crater that was created because an asteroid might have hit it. It is the biggest permafrost crater, so it has been permanently frozen with ice. It is in Russia. It's also called as a gateway to the underworld. Then we have the Cam Ran Bay, an Indian naval ship Kirpan handed over to Vietnam's navy. A ship in this particular bay area. This is in Vietnam. All these have been marked here as well on the map. You can see here. Strait of Hormuz, it's very near to India. It is in the news because of the rivalry as to what happens in between the Middle Eastern countries. Crimean Bridge, the bridge that basically joins the Russian mainland to Crimea, it was blown up. That was in the news. Democratic Republic of Congo in the news because of increasing cholera cases. Then another volcano, Obinas, was in the news, and then Peru was in the news because it had declared a national emergency because of increasing cases of Guillain-Barré syndrome. Now, again, places in news is one of those kind of things that you have to remember. Obviously, these are a lot of stuff, so I don't think you could be able to remember all of them. But it's more about reading 3-4 times and hoping that most of it gets stuck into your mind. This is the next map, and again, places that have been in the news. You can read it by yourself if you want. There are certain mountains: Mont Blanc, Mount Vesuvius. Serbia also in the news. Gaza Strip, we have already discussed why it is in the news. Mount Blanc is in the news because it has been witnessed there's a reduction in its height over the past 2 years. Mont Blanc is also called as a rooftop of Europe. Then some other places in the news include Zambia, landlocked country. We have the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. It's a dam on the Blue Nile River, also called as a Millennium Dam. Atlas Mountains, Catalonia. Remember I told you about how it's a region in Spain. UPSC already has asked questions. Again, the same protests have broken out once again, that they want that whoever leaders of Catalonia were arrested, they should be released. Deception Island was also in the news. It's a part of line of islands called the South Shetland Islands in the Antarctic. We will continue in the next class with another set of places in news. So we have 3 more classes remaining. Next 2 will be about the places in news. The last class will be very, very important for you, where I'll be telling you how do you have to attempt the paper, how can you get the best marks, what are the tricks that you have to apply. If you don't know the answer, how can you guess? All these things will be discussed in the last class, so do stay tuned. Thank you so much for joining in. Bye bye. Jai Hind.